Hi, is this Josh?
Yeah, it's Josh.
So, back in January, you wrote, "You are the most pathetic human being I have ever seen on the internet in my entire life." Josh, what inspired you to write that message? The way I approach the podcast is that I am very adamant that it's not a debate. Because I feel that debate in 2018, or in this era that we live in, doesn't really work because we live in a post-fact world where if I disagree on a topic with you, I can find all these sources that back me up and you can find all these sources that back you up, right? There are just so many sources in this world. There isn't this shared pool of facts that we're all drawing from. So I don't want to treat it as a debate, and what I always try and turn it into is just a conversation about people with each other, because when you kind of ask why someone believes something, that is so much more interesting than the talking points that the two of you can equally spout at each other. And then I think when people have their guards down like that, or when you disarm people and you disarm yourself, and you're laughing and talking about those things, then you can talk about the kind of bigger topics and be like, this is how we disagree. We're not going to change each other's mind, right? I think that's something that I'll speak for myself as a little liberal snowflake person. You think that the goal is I'm going to eradicate racism from this planet by convincing this one person of this thing that I know to be true for me. But yeah, you can't convince them. It's really just about listening, and you have to check yourself while you're listening, because there's this clear desire to jump in when you disagree to correct people, but that's just not how anyone learns anything. We have to talk to each other. And we as a collective society have a harder time talking to each other, and we are better versed, it seems, I'm speaking very generally, but we're better versed at having these big macro discussions and very intelligently explaining systemic issues and large-scale problems and historic problems. But talking one-on-one to each other is something we're less good at. I say all the time that the guests I have on the podcast are people I feel safe with, right? I'm talking to both people on the far right who have sent me the kind of messages you might expect. And I've also spoken to people on quote-unquote my side who have either publicly dragged me for being the worst kind of liberal, or, there are a few episodes in the pipeline with people who think that I'm not tackling social justice correctly. And they have some pretty choice words to tell me how they think I'm tackling it. There are some messages that I've received that I've been this doesn't feel safe, this doesn't feel like it would be productive. And if someone feels violent, I'm not talking to people who threaten violence against me. Well, I think the internet affords us access to all the people who we see in the news, who we see on our feeds, whether those are friends, family members, or public figures. I mean, hate, I so believe, is rooted in fear, right? And it's when fear kind of calcifies, that's a word, right? Mm-hmm. When fear kind of hardens into something stronger, I feel that's the foundation of building hate. And then you can find media these days on the internet, in mainstream media even, that confirms that fear or stokes that fear or stokes the flames of that fear, fans the flames, metaphors, and that kind of perpetuates it. And then the internet also gives us this access to reach out to those people who represent the thing we fear, and we can say whatever we want to them. Mm-hmm. So I think that's my diagnosis of it.